Stu, a win is a win. 3 points for Ipswich Town this afternoon. Connor Chaplin with the only goal in a 1-0 victory over Gillingham. It's fair to say it wasn't the prettiest of victories, though.
No, it wasn't. I guess this goes filed alongside Accrington as
Crew.
got the job done. Crew, others that fall in that category. Successful sides find ways to win when not at their best. Ipswich have done that at times. Under Kieran McKenna, we've had vintage sexy football at Priestfield only, 4 weeks ago. Got some early goals, finished them off 4-0. Today was more about patience and finding a way, and they did that. Connor Chaplin's goal ultimately, 74th minute, really nice finish, gets the 3 points, but right up until that moment, it was hard to see where a goal was coming from, wasn't it?
Yeah, came out of absolutely nothing. We'll talk through the goal and then we'll talk about the nothing that came before it. So the goal is an advancing left-sided centre-back who plays a bit of a rocket ball with a bit of pace, trying to force a ball into Chaplin. It needed to be forced into Chaplin, a bit of a bounce off him and then a thump of a finish, a really nice thumping finish. But it did come out of nothing, didn't it? We've seen a front three of Chaplin, Piggott and James Norwood today, which for me didn't function particularly well. I don't think the link up was there. Understandable in many of those cases. If you look at Piggott and Norwood in particular, that's their first start together for Ipswich. They've played 23 minutes of football together before today. So it's maybe not entirely surprising, but I think a lot of their problems came through that. A lot of their problems came through the middle of midfield for me. That there's not the drive in there without Sam Morsey, and I thought that's where they fell down. But ultimately they've won it. They had to win it, and they did, thankfully.
Yeah, first half again, similar tale to Sheffield Wednesday in some ways, that they had 70+% of possession, worked it quite nicely up to the final third, but then there was no cutting edge, there was no real chance. The couple of chances they had in the first half came from set pieces, but didn't really carve open anything, but were in control of the game without looking dangerous. Second half, and Kieran McKenna said, we then kind of went away from our principles. It became a tit-for-tat, ding-dong game which suits the opposition more. It became a bits and pieces game, and Gillingham probably looked the more likely to score for 20 minutes or so at the start of that second half. Some real sort of dangerous moments where Ipswich lived on the seat of their pants, but you just hope that the quality comes through, and it happened with Connor Chaplin. And once they got that goal, the way that they can control the ball meant that they kind of saw it out quite comfortably from there. In the days of sort of Paul Cook's sides continually giving away leads, you don't feel that way with the way that sort of McKenna sides can keep the football, do you?
And also I would argue with the way that this team is built with that back three, which each in their own way contributed to this. I didn't think this was a vintage George Edmondson game. We've not seen one of those for a couple of weeks now, but ultimately he kind of covered his own mistakes, I thought, today well enough. Once in particular, I'm sure everyone will remember he gave a ball away under hit to Lee Evans, but got back to make the tackle and block the shot, did enough. Luke Wolfenden again, I thought, played well today. Same with Janoy Donasian. I think a lot of the aerial threat kind of was aimed at Donasian today, and I think he dealt with a lot of that. So it's that solidity in that back three, and then, as you say, an ability to keep the ball and repel pressure by simply having the football, which makes this team tougher to beat, which I guess is job number one, isn't it? And a job that Neil Harris seems to have done quite quickly with Gillingham.
Yeah, McKenna said all week we had a feeling in the camp that this was going to be a tough game. He knew that the outside view was probably that this is going to be comfortable, walk in the park, look at their form, look at our form, look at the game a few weeks ago, but he knew he'd seen enough from their 1-0 win against Crewe in midweek that this was going to be a tough ask. He says that some of this sort of recent, not dip in form, but some of the more struggles of late have because teams are showing them a lot more respect. They've seen the football that they played at Priestfield and are parking more men behind the ball, and they've got to come up with ways of breaking that down. But two key phrases that he used quite a lot was work in progress and trust the process, and that he ultimately thinks that this possession brand, proactive possession brand, control of football is what's going to take Ipswich to where they want to be in the long run. So accepted that it wasn't their best performance today, but but believes that this is the right way to go.
Any bright spots you'd pick out in terms of individual performances?
Don't think anyone really sort of leapt off the page. Connor Chaplin ultimately is the match winner. He's got 9 goals for the season now. His goal has made the difference. Walton came to the rescue again a couple of times when required today, showing his value, isn't he?
Walton was probably my man of the match today, if I'm honest. Wolfenden maybe the better of the outfield players for me, but not just with the saves that Walton makes. It's repeatedly. It's the sensible decisions to come and punch, and the calm way that he's able to catch balls into the box to take some pressure off, and then that was impressive again today. Another clean sheet for them at the back. But 3 big points. They needed to win it, because if they hadn't, we'd be talking about potentially a 10-11 point gap to the playoff today had they drawn or lost. But instead it's an 8-point one. Looked like it might be 6 at one point until Oxford came from behind to beat Portsmouth. But next up is Doncaster, a team that beat Sunderland today, should be noted. We talked about these 2 games being against relegation threatened clubs. They both picked up heading into and won games going into the clash with Ipswich Town. So we'll see how they get on at the Keep Moat on, if it's still called that. For sponsorship reasons, I don't know. It's Doncaster Stadium. We'll see you on Tuesday night.